Good day, everyone. This is Pilot News, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and on the tabletop. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Draculata.
Hey now, everybody. How's it going?
Hello there, Drac. And today we are having our 200th episode. And have you been celebrating?
Maybe a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Then let's get on with the show so the celebration can continue.
No more celebrating.
We will begin with the Mimic Hunt, which is now available through November 18th. So that will be another 6 days for the time of this recording.
Indeed. Watch those chests. They're mimics. Or they could be a mimic.
They could come out to bite you.
I enjoy. A lot of people are upset about the Mimic Hunt. They get mad at it. I kind of like it. I think it's kind of fun. It's kind of like, just a random thing. It's like, oh, look, a chest. Oh, my God, it's trying to kill me. What's wrong with that? Come on. There's nothing wrong with a little mimic now and then. Come on now. And if you absolutely do not like it, you can go to the mimic guy and you can buy the repellent and you won't ever get a mimic. But you can complain that it's bugged, maybe.
Yeah, I heard a rumor that what's going on there?
Well, there was a player that over on the forums put in a thread entitled Mimic Event Bugged. He says, I just ran the Slaver's Chain and every single chest gives the message that I opened the chest too often to get a mimic. Which is ridiculous because today I logged in for the first time in 8 days. Before that, I ran Night Rebels Quest only for 2 weeks. Before that, I did not log in for several weeks. No bug report was filed. No point in doing so because they get auto-closed with no response anyway. So, and then a couple other people chimed in and said, yeah, I'm getting that message, or I'm getting the message that it's too low a level to give a mimic, but they were doing the quest higher level than them, so... Coco Majobo did say that Quality Assurance looked at this, so they're looking into it. We actually haven't played yet since the Mimic event started, so I don't know. I guess we'll find out Wednesday, maybe, if there is problems with this. But the reason I thought this thread was interesting, he did say that he didn't file a bug report because there's no point in doing so because they get auto-closed with no responses anyway. And then another player chimed in, bug reports don't get responses. What happens is the company that manages their customer service simply copies it and shoots it off to SSG. Then they close your ticket, and then he puts working as intended, trademark. They do get them, though. I know for a fact that Coco prints them out and then tosses them into the wood burning furnace that they use to heat the building. So a few responses down. Coco Majobo, who is the DDO QA team assurance leader, if you did not know who Coco Majobo was, chimed in and he says, and I quote, "This is misleading."
Is that an understatement?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe there was a little bit of sarcasm there. For the benefit...
Oh, as if there weren't any in this entire thread.
Right, exactly. For the benefit of yourself and anyone else who would see your post and be convinced that this depiction is correct, here is the actual process that a bug report submitted goes through. So this is what happens when you fill out a bug report. And I'm not sure if we've ever known this before, so I thought this was kind of interesting. So pull up a chair and let's hear the story of the bug report, shall we?
The story of the bug report.
Coco Majobo says, bug reports go to a queue that QA can access. From there, I generally look through the queue once or twice a week, though near the end of an update cycle that generally doesn't happen for a while until after the crunch period of getting the update out is over. And then catalog the various issues encountered into our chart of unverified player reports to investigate, and then close out the tickets. If there is anything major, I will look at it immediately. But generally, most non-pressing issues get thrown into the pile until a point in the development cycle when QA has a little bit of spare time. What QA does not have time for is to respond with an individualized response to every person that submits a bug report. There are times that I do, but the vast majority I attach the usual, quote, "Thank you for providing this information," end quote, message, and then close out the ticket after having done the process listed above. This is the level of player-facing interaction that could be expected before potential release notes in the future. After an issue has been reproduced internally, QA will write up a report on what is happening and how to reproduce it into our internal verified bugs queue, and it is assigned to a dev. All bugs in that queue are assigned a severity, which highly impacts the level of other tasks a developer will put aside to work on. Generally, most devs will find time for a handful of non-critical or blocker issues each update cycle that do not have to do with new features they are implementing for the update they are working on. Everything else remains in the queue for the next update cycle until they have time for it. These queues of currently live non-critical bugs are large, as in common in games that I have had an active development on for over a decade. What we would like to be able to fix each and every one of those bugs as they come in? Absolutely. The reality is, however, that all portions of the DDO team need to prioritize between a much larger list of tasks that could possibly be addressed at once. Each update cycle, there are somewhere between 20 and 100 bug fixes not related to new features being implemented, and they are usually something like 100 to 200 bugs on each new feature before they go live. With some of these being quick fixes that the devs had time for, and some of them being large high priority fixes that caused us the need to not have time to do something we wanted. The point is, so the too long didn't read version, bug reports that are submitted are looked at. They are a necessary part of the DDO team's effort to continuously attempt to make this into a better game, even though most individual reports are not going to see results in a timely fashion. So there you go. That is how a bug report works, which I found that kind of interesting myself.
So it's not used to heat the building.
No. Apparently not, which I'll admit, a little disappointed in, just a little, but, you know.
Well, the other possibility was they used it to line the hamster cages.
Oh, ouch. Ow.
Let's head into the DDO Chronicle, and what's up this week? So it looks like we've got a mimic on the top.
Imagine that. Shocked, I say, shocked. Yes, we do have a mimic for the cover of our Chronicle this week. In the Community Spotlight, D&D Kasplat was back last night for Chapter 2 as the heroes continue to investigate the Kobold blockade of the village of Scrimbar by entering the Kobold Den. Will the heroes break the blockade before the local tavern runs out of ale? And what insights will Mr. Button share? That was last night. Spoiler alert for later in the show for my week in DDO. It was awesome. It was so much fun. I'll talk about it later in the show, but fun times were had by all. Fansite news section. We got a shout out for our episode last week. Axel was reviewing the new Night Rebels event and all the new things that were added. House of Grouse is ready to feel under pressure. So check out that blog post. Baklagor, of course, streaming Fridays on Ice. Mickey's Delirium, 96 weeks of rating. DDOPL is still on Argo and streaming, and still doing it in Polish, just for the record. The Witch in the Woods Part 3 wrapped up over on D&D Night on DDO Stream, so see how that ended up. Free DO is on Episode 7, Beholder Retirement Home. I'm going to have to watch that episode. I haven't watched it yet.
Right.
You have my attention with Beholder Retirement Home. Streaming with Even is farming ingredients for the Night Rebels. And, of course, don't forget the latest show on DDO Stream, Alex and Lynn. We have our Chronicle comment of the week. Are you ready to answer, Pineleaf?
Am I ready to answer? Probably not.
Okay, you're going to answer anyway. Where is the best place to find mimics?
In a treasury?
See, you actually had a good answer.
As opposed to a pine leaf answer?
True. True. I was trying to think of a fast answer for this, but I couldn't think of anything funny to say. So probably everywhere, because you never know what's going to be the mimic.
Nobody expects the Mimic Inquisition.
Exactly. And we do have our screenshot of the week, which is Tensmo patrols the Veil of Twilight in the 390th DDO screenshot of the week. That is a screenshot for sure. I actually was trying to figure out what was exactly going on in that, and I couldn't quite figure it out. I like the moon in the background. We have the cool Veil of Twilight sky, which I always like the sky out there because it's kind of purplish and pinkish, and then the big moon. But there's a lot of other stuff going on in the screenshot that I couldn't figure out.
I'm trying to see because we have those. Looks like there's an artificer around here.
Yeah, see, I kind of thought that was an artificer, but
yeah,
he's wearing the Green Reaper armor, so it's kind of hard to see because it kind of blends in. So
yeah, but he seems to have a rune arm activated.
Oh, that's okay. That's what it is. Yeah, see, because I was trying to figure out what the effects were that was going on. It's a rune arm. Okay, see, now it makes sense. Pine Leaf Logic strikes
Pine Leaf
again.
Logic. Plus, I have been known to occasionally play an artificer. Then that's it for our DDO Chronicles. So what is on sale this week? Anything nice, anything interesting, anything epic?
Why, yes. Heroic and epic tomes of learning. I almost said tombs of learning there. Select stat tomes and skill tomes at 20% off in our DDO store. Forget about our weekly coupon code. You will get a lesser guild renowned elixir. Get those guild levels up with the coupon code RENOWN, RENOWN, now through November the 15th.
Then let's head into our site news, where we are going to celebrate because this is our 200th episode.
That's right. Who would have thought this crazy, strange little show we have here would have reached 200 episodes? It seems like not too long ago we hit 100 episodes, and here we are doubling that amount. So yep, there's been 200, and actually, if you want to get technical, we've really had more than 200 episodes.
What?
But some of those were interviews with different people and stuff, so I didn't really count them in the show numbering scheme. So technically we're way over 200, but actual of this here podcast you're listening to, we have done 200 episodes of this podcast, which is insane.
I thought that's supposed to be what happens when you do 200 episodes of the Cthulhu.
Well, yeah, that too.
Then how about a little bit of history for the show? How did we get started, and what are our major milestones?
Yeah, I don't think have we ever talked about this on the show? I was trying to...
After 200 episodes, you want me to remember such things?
Well, okay. You're in the same boat I am then, because I'm trying to sit back and I'm have we ever talked about the history of the show? But I don't think so. So the quick Cliff Notes version of GDO Players News Podcast, and kind of the site too, we'll kind of lump the site in with it, is... I used to be on Lotro Players News, which is our sister show, with you. You're the host of that show as well, and I was...
I've heard a rumor of such.
That's right. And I was a co-host on that show for a long time. And the other person that was a co-host on that show, Anding, who has been on our show before, and we've talked about it a little bit, he used to be the lead director of the Players Alliance, which is the... trying to think of the word I want to use, the overall network that all of our sites are under.
Okay, the parent site.
Okay, there you go. That I will like that better. Is our parent site. There you go. And he wanted to, at that time, like I said, he was the lead director of the site. He wanted to expand the Players Alliance network. At that time, we had Lotro Players, and we had Lotro Academy, so we had two shows. So he approached me and he says, I know you play DDO. I know you're, not playing Lotro a lot, because I kind of, once I started to get back into DDO, my Lotro playing got less and less. So, it was kind of weird for me to be on Lotro Players News. I love all the people over there. I love the show, but it's just, I'll be honest, I don't play Lotro that much anymore. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm really playing DDO again. So he's like, so would you want to head up a DDO site? And of course, we'll do DDO Players News. So it, falls under the Players Alliance and everything, because we have like a format each show follows. And I was like, sure. And then the week after him and I talked about that, before we were recording a Lotro Players News episode, Antang was talking to me about something about DDO, and Pine Leaf chimes in and he was like, hey, I'm playing DDO. And I was like, what? We launched the site, and then it was like 2 weeks after the site launched, we kind of got the idea, okay, so let's do a podcast too. And that was pretty much how it started. And if you go back and listen, which I do not recommend because I actually did it, I listened to like the first episode, and oh my God, it's painful. It's so painful to listen to. But anyway, the show was much different back then. We have tweaked the show and the site, because if you can remember back, but yeah, if you can remember back, there was a long stretch of time where there was like no DDO news whatsoever, like none, like nothing. Like the game was coasting along. They were just doing, bug fixes and whatever, but there was like no updates, no nothing coming out. There was like no news. And it was like, okay, so either this podcast is going to be about 10 to 20 minutes long, because it's going to be, hey, there's no news, here's a chronicle, here's a store sales, this is what we played this week, see you next week. I decided, okay, so let's try something new here. We added at that time it was just called News Beyond DDO, and everything was conglomerated into that. So it was anything, anything that didn't have to do with DDO, we threw in that section. And that's when we started talking about D&D, and we started talking about other role-playing games.
Yep.
So I waited a couple weeks, and that seemed to go okay. So I'm like, okay. And I'm a big, if you listen to the show, you know that. I'm a big tabletop board game player. So I'm like, all right, logically, if you play D&D, most D&D players play board games. So I'm like, let's start talking about board games. So we kind of threw some board games in there, and that seemed to work. So I'm like, cool, this is working out good. My plan is working, which I'll be honest, I didn't think it was going to work at all. So happy surprise that it worked. So then that's when we kind of got what we are now. We're kind of this weird, maybe 15, 20 minutes of the show is DDO. And then we go into, which we retooled that whole section to what it is now. We have From the Dungeon, which of course covers anything role-playing D&D wise. We have On the Tabletop, which, wow, it's about tabletop games. Imagine that. And then now we have the On the Screen, which is movies, TV shows, video games, anything that, is on the screen. And then, of course, we have our Week in DDO. So it's this weird hybrid thing that people really seem to latch onto and like, because we still get the DDO people that support us. And I just want to say personally, thank you so much to the whole DDO community for embracing us, because we're two noobs that have no idea what the hell we're doing, but we love playing the game, and we love talking about the game and trying to at least make sense when we talk about the game. And the tabletop gaming community has embraced us, and it's just great. And I was trying to think of all of our past guests that we've had, and if I missed anybody on this list, I'm sorry, but we have had Cordovin, Lessa, Mithery, Saba Jade, Patrick, Bonnie Bew, Evenote, Nobob, Steel Star, and executive producer Severlin. And we have done a lot of interviews as well.
You have done a lot of
interviews.
Okay,
that's true. I have done a lot of interviews. Because, yes, I tend to do most of the... Well, and the reason that is, and I've actually had a couple of people ask me about that. It's like, hey, why does Pine Leaf never do those interviews with you? Because a lot of the times, what works out for some of these people is not Pine Leaf schedule friendly. At the time, I didn't have a full-time job, quote-unquote. I mean, I owned my own computer business, so I kind of made my own hours. So if somebody was available, at like 1 p.m. in the afternoon, okay, I could just reschedule my day around that person and do the interview at 1 p.m., whereas Pine Leaf was actually at a, quote-unquote real job, and he couldn't do it. So that's why most of the, well, okay, we'll just be honest, all of the interviews are just me. But we've done a lot of those too. Travis Willingham, who of course is a voice actor and on Critical Role. Cindy Robinson, who is a voice actor and Dungeon Master for DDO. Allie Murphy, same thing, DDO voice actress. We've had Lynna Bell on, who at the time we talked to her was just an intern. Now she's actually on the DDO team. We have Eliza Bosab, who is actually on the DDO team as well. That is Flimsy Firewood. We talked to him about a tabletop game he designed. Justin DeWitt, who is from Fireside Games. Rodney Thompson, who has designed many role-playing game and also worked on D&D. Mark Spector from the Grand Gamers Guild. He is a tabletop game designer. Chris Birch from Modipius Entertainment. And Gil Hova, who's also a game designer. Mike Toons, who is a game designer as well. Sean Merwin, who works on D&D. Robert Aducci, who works on D&D. Mike Merrills, Chris Lindsay also works on D&D. And we have Jen Page, who is an actress, and she now works for Fantasy Grounds, which we're going to have another interview with her pretty soon about that. So I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to embrace us, talk to us. It's great. And of course, all the game companies that will send review copies over, and they agreed to talk to my noobish shelf when I'm at Gen Con and Origins. And it's awesome. It's just awesome. And a big thank you, I mean, seriously, to everybody that listens to the show, either if it's via the podcast, if it's by YouTube, to all the people that visit the site on a daily basis. We couldn't have done this 200 episodes without you. It's you all made this possible. I mean, we just get together every Monday night and talk and just hope to God somebody is going to listen to us. Really. I mean, let's just be honest, Pine Leaf and I just have a chat, and then I edit it up and I put it up on YouTube and on our podcast feed, and I'm like, is anybody going to listen to us this week? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we're just talking to ourselves. So
in real time, we are usually.
True. That is very, very true. So as a special surprise, at the end of the podcast, there's going to be a surprise for everybody. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to make you actually listen to it.
Ooh.
The astute among you can probably figure out what it is, because we have done this before. That's all there's your hint. Go figure it out. If you subscribe to the audio version of the podcast, it is going to be directly after this here podcast episode is over. And if you just listen to us / watch us on the YouTube version of the podcast, there is going to be a special video that will be uploaded on our YouTube feed. That will be the same thing that's going to be at the end of the audio podcast. So tune in for that. Exciting times. And
Exciting times.
Yeah, but seriously, just thank you to everybody that has put up with us for 200 episodes and actually come to the site and come to the YouTube page and watch our videos, watch our unboxing videos, read the site, listen to the podcast, everything. You guys are awesome. And thanks to Pine Leaf, too, for sticking around for 200 episodes of this crazy, weird thing that I keep changing. And he never knows what's going on because I keep changing it. I'm like, oh, yeah, by the way, we're going to do this now. And he's like, what?
And for me, those not quite 200 episodes, because you have those nights when you say, oh, I won't be getting home until 11:30.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's true. There is a couple non-Pine Leaf episodes thrown in here and there, too. But I bet that's probably only been... If you take all the interviews out of it, I bet there's only probably been maybe 6 or 7 episodes you haven't been on, maybe.
Probably somewhere around that.
Somewhere, yeah, about a handful maybe. But so just, yeah, thank you for supporting us at 200 and continue to support us. And we'll see where this crazy, weird thing that somehow works is working.
It works somehow.
Exactly.
Anything else you want to add in relation to the history of our show?
Not really, other than we're going to have some giveaway.
Ooh.
Over on the site, there'll be a post. 200 episode giveaways. We're going to have some DDO points and maybe some other stuff. I'm still waiting to hear back from some people. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a couple days before I actually put the giveaway post up, because I'm working on a few cool things to give away, but I'm waiting to hear back from several game companies about certain things. So stay tuned for that. But I know for sure we do have some DDO points that we're going to give away. So just in a couple days, stay tuned to the website, and there you go. You can win some DDO points and buy some cool stuff.
Thank you on that. Then let's head in and see what's coming in from the dungeon. Where the Dungeons and Dragons starter set is on sale at Amazon, and what, hasn't been there before?
Well, it's been there, but not this cheap. You can get it for $12. That is a $10 bill and two $1 bills. That's pretty freaking cheap for the starter set, because normally it retails for like $19.99. Right now, around Amazon, you can get it for $11, and it's actually dropped some. It is now $11.97 now. I just opened it up.
Oh, from $11.99 to $11.97. Yeah,
So, hey, 3 cents is 3 cents, man. So yeah, if you for some reason are not into D&D and you're thinking about maybe checking it out, starter set is a great way to do it. You get pre-generated characters, you get dice, you get an amazing module. The Fandelver module is in there. It is amazing. It is one of the best early modules for D&D, period. End of story. I defy anybody to tell me a better lower level module than Minds of Fandelver. So yeah, or if you know somebody that maybe is thinking about getting into D&D and they don't know how, starter set, perfect way to do it. And like I said, for $11.97, that's crazy cheap. So jump on that. And if you have a Prime membership, shipping is even free.
Right.
So $11.97, you're in the world of D&D. And you're never going to turn back because you're going to love it. And then you're going to be playing D&D forever. And then you're going to remember back to the time when, hey, I paid $12 to get started in this game that I've enjoyed for X amount of hours of my life. And I got my $12 out of that.
Yeah, of course. Then you remember how much you paid after that.
Well, that goes without saying, of course. But we're trying to get new people into the hobby, Piley. Let's not talk about how much money it's going to cost after that.
Well, it's not exactly like this is going to be a group that's never heard of D&D.
True, that's very true. And yeah, Carvet is in the chat room, and he is agreeing that the Lost Minds of Fandelver is a great way to start. So there you go. So yeah, check it out. I don't know how long this price is going to be on Amazon. I just happened to notice it, and I'm like, that's crazy cheap for that starter set. I mean, even at $20, it was like a good deal. But I mean, for $12, it's just like a no-brainer. Christmas is coming up. Buy a few to give as gifts.
Yes, but you gotta remember, Carvet also said that we are beyond noobs. Does that mean we're ultra noobs?
Sure. Let's go with that.
Let's go and see what's on the tabletop. Where the Essen Game Fair sees more robberies?
Yeah, this is kind of one of those, don't really want to talk about this stories, but we have to talk about this stories. The last couple years at the Essen Spiel, see, I was worried about saying Spiel and I messed Essen up. Good grief. There has been a lot of complaints from vendors and various game companies there that their booths were getting robbed. This year was no exception, but this year it was really bad. This year, like 5 different game companies got robbed. Japan Anime Games was one of them. They posted up a little press release telling the story of what happened to them. And it sounds like, because you can look at all the game companies that are talking about what happened to them, and it sounds like these were quote-unquote professional thieves, because each story is very, very similar. What happened to Japan Anime Games is there was 2 people that came into the booth. They distracted one of the Japan Anime employees. games. And then another person went behind their table and grabbed 2 of the backpacks and ran off. Unfortunately, those backpacks contained 6,000 and 7,000 euros, which equals out to just about 6,800 to 7,900 US dollars. Japan Anime does have a site on their website that you can offer tips if you have any ideas what happened to this, and they're also asking for donations to try to recoup some of that money because, you know, that's $7,900 they lost. And if you think about it, Essen is, of course, in Germany, so you have to fly to get over there. You have to get your hotels. You have to pay to get, pay to get the booth space, yada, yada, yada. It can get expensive. So they just lost $7,900. That's a lot of money for a game company. So, but then, unfortunately, as I said, Japan Anime was not the only one. Greenbrier Games also had a money bag containing around 1,000 US dollars stolen right from behind their counter, and that was the end of the first day. Same thing. Somebody distracted the employees that were there. Another person ran around, grabbed it, and dashed off. A little bit smaller amount, but still, that's $1,000, Greenbrier's out of. And the Greek company Artepa Games also, as well, lost some money. They lost about everything they had, though. $17,000 was taken from them. They are actually running a Kickstarter that they have a bunch of promo cards for their games that they're putting up on Kickstarter. And that's how they're trying to recoup this. And they have raised nearly, I haven't looked at it recently. I know they were over like $20,000. So they have gotten their money back and plus some, which is awesome to see the community getting behind these companies. But according to Japan Anime, there were several other companies that said they were robbed as well, but they didn't want to go public with it. So all this was reported to the Spiel convention people. Hopefully they'll do something about this. This has been getting worse and worse and worse every year, the Essen Spiel. So I'm not sure what's going on with this, but it's just crazy to me. But it's why Essen? Why is it easier?
Yeah, that's the strange thing.
Yeah, it's like, is it easier over there than? I mean, I guess I don't think about when I'm at Gen Con. It's like, hey, how easy would it be to steal all these people's money? I mean, I guess I don't have that mindset, so I don't know. And of course, I've never been to Essen, so I don't know if the booth setups are a little different. But I would think it'd basically be you'd be in a big convention hall and you have your booth. I would think it would be the same as about everything, but it's just really weird. This year was super, super bad. Last year there was only like 1 or 2 companies. This year I think the total was like 7 that got robbed. So
good grief.
Not one of those wonderful stories to share, but alas, everybody needs to know what's going on, and I hope the organizers of Essen actually does something about this, and maybe V-Sub Security or does something. So far, they haven't commented on any of this, so we'll see what happens with that.
Whew. Let's go and see what's on the screen. And I do wonder, though, concerning this first story here is, all right, I guess he covers so many different areas. I guess Screen was when you found that was most
right.
For it, since we don't have a comic book section.
Right. That was the best place I could put it. I couldn't think of anywhere else to stick it, and I'm like, it makes sense to be on the screen.
Yes, and comic legend Stan Lee, who is responsible for so many different types of superhero comics, is dead at the age of 95.
Yeah, this story just sucks. This just happened today, actually. I found out about this this afternoon, and I'm like, man, Stan Lee, he's like, I feel it's kind of hard. I've never met Stan Lee, unfortunately. I've never, got to go to any conventions he was at, but I feel like I know him just because of all of the entertainment and everything I've got out of the words he has written, the characters he's created. I grew up with Stan Lee, basically, because I grew up reading all of his comic books and all of the stuff he was responsible for. And it's just like, this just sucks. It's like, oh my God, what is the world going to be like without Stan Lee? And is that a world we want to live in? It's like, But yeah, this was first reported by TMZ. His daughter, J.C. Lee, did report that Stan Lee, unfortunately, passed away earlier this afternoon at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. He had been dealing with some health issues on and off recently. So I guess this doesn't come as like a super huge shock, but it still just sucks. And of course, the funniest part about it is I never knew the whole story of Stan Lee, because most nerds will know Stan Lee is not his real name. His real name is Stanley Martin Lieber. He adopted the pseudonym Stan Lee when he first started as a proofreader and a text filler at Timely Comics. Well, Timely Comics published, some like pulp books and pulp comic books. And then they changed their name and they became this little company called Marvel. I don't think anybody's ever heard of that Marvel company. Yeah. So, and then, of course, the rest is history. He took over Marvel, and he was Mr. Marvel, and he was the face of Marvel, and all of that is history. And it's kind of funny. Stan Lee said about that, I felt someday I'd be writing the great American novel, and I didn't want to use my real name on those silly little comics.
Yeah.
So hence Stan Lee was born. He later did legally adopt his pen name as his name. So he really was Stan Lee then, but that's just kind of awesome. Yep. Didn't want to use his real name on those silly little comics.
Well, yes, there are a number of writers who just didn't think this was going to be their line of success, thought something completely different was going to be, and whoops.
So, yeah, unfortunately, Stan Lee is no longer with us. His last quote-unquote public appearance was a video that he uploaded in March, and he just said, I want you all to know I'm thinking of you. I want you to know I still love you all, and I think that Marvel and Spidey and I have the best group of fans that any group in the world ever had, and I sure appreciate it. And I think I can speak for all of the comic book geeks and all of the nerds out here. We appreciated you, Mr. Stan Lee. We appreciated you. Excelsior, Stan Lee, Excelsior.
Then, on a stranger twist...
Yeah, exactly. This whole story is just like, what? What?
I guess apparently the Satanic Temple is suing Netflix for $150 million.
Yes, they are. But not just Netflix. They're also suing Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers? Okay, and what did Netflix and Warner Brothers do to, other than probably depicting them in a rather unflattering light? Is that what they did?
Because, yes, they're giving the Satanic Temple a bad name, Pinely.
When you have a name, the Satanic Temple,
well,
if you're naming yourself after
just
the
saying,
ultimate bad name.
Just saying, they're giving them a bad name. That's right. The Satanic Temple of California filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court over Netflix new show, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. The group says the show infringed on its copyright of its statue, Baphomet with the Children. And they are also giving the temple and the church a bad name. So not only did they say they took their trademark by depicting the statue, which in the article I put over on DDO Players, I'm going to have, I put pictures of the Sabrina statue and the actual statue that the temple uses. And okay, they're pretty similar. I'll give you that. There's a couple changes. And if you're watching the YouTube version, both are going to be up on the screen so you can see. So, okay, I guess maybe they have some legs to stand on the copyright violation if they did actually trademark the statue, which I don't know if they did. I'll be honest. I didn't take the time to actually look to see if they trademarked this statue and the depiction. But yeah, so they're suing for the trademark violation, and then that people are going to get the version of the Satanic Temple and Baphomet that is on Sabrina and them confused.
I get confused.
The temple argues that the show portrays the temple and the Church of Satan in a negative and false light. They say Netflix and Warner Brothers misappropriated the statue by associating it with evil and activities counter to what the temple really believes in.
Oh. All right. If I remember correctly, Satan isn't exactly the most positively featured character in the history of the Western world.
This stuff writes itself. I'm just saying, it writes itself. The the lawyer for the Satanic Temple said the reason the statue was commissioned was to be a symbol that they could bring out when they felt the government wasn't separating church and state. And if you remember, I do believe it was in Arkansas, and they also did it in Oklahoma City too. One of the courthouses had the Ten Commandments in front of the courthouse, and they were saying, you can't do that because church and state and government have to be separate. So they put this statue up by the Ten Commandments, and quote unquote all hell was raised. I mean, I say that in all seriousness. People lost their freaking mind. There was a satanic statue by the Ten Commandments, but anyway.
Oh well.
Then they say in Sabrina, the lawsuit argues, the statue is an evil symbol representing the show's antagonist. The statue sits at the center of the academy where Sabrina is sent to learn magic, and it is considered an homage to the Dark Lord, whom Sabrina is fighting against.
Yeah.
Writes itself. I don't know. So yeah. So I can't wait to see how this one works out. So they're seeking at least $150 million in damages. And as of Friday of last week, Netflix and Warner Brothers declined to comment. So we'll see what happens with this.
We shall see what happens with this.
So yeah, I got a press release on that from Netflix, and I'm like, really? Is it April 1st? Is this for real? And then I was like, oh my God, it is for real. What is going on in our world where this can even be a lawsuit that is even filed?
Well,
so I guess we did have the
stranger lawsuit.
I'm gonna say we did have the McDonald's "my coffee was too hot and burned me" lawsuit. So there you go.
Yeah, my coffee was too hot. The one that says "Warning, coffee is hot."
That's why they say "Warning, coffee is hot" now, because. Well, anyway, don't get me started on that whole thing. I have opinions on that, but we should just move on before I get myself in trouble.
Then let's head into our week in gaming. Drac, what were you up to?
Well, tried to play DDO. Didn't work out too well, as you'll talk about, I'm sure. We tried, but failed. Spoiler alert. Pineleaf will explain why we failed. It wasn't our fault, I promise. I did do some Dungeons & Dragons 5e. Kind of hinted at it earlier. Part 2 of Waterdeep Dragon Heist took place. That is the bonus on the D&D night stream. Evil Beaker is running that over on his channel. This was the first time I got to partake in that because last week when they did it, I was sick and I couldn't partake in it. So running through Waterdeep Dragon Heist, this is the one where I'm the drow with a bunch of dwarves.
Drow with a bunch of dwarves.
And so far it's not working too well because one of the people, Bonnie Bew, she's this town constable, so she thinks she's this hot dwarf that's the law and everything. And my dwarf may have been arrested a few times for various petty things that, were not his fault, really. So she doesn't even call me by my name. She just calls me criminal or convict. And I told her she was profiling. So, oh, and she's in our chat room saying correct. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's still saying convict.
I'm gonna say convict. I'll give you a convict. But anyway, so tune in for part 3. I think we're doing it December 7th is the next time we're playing that one. So things are getting interesting as we're running through the newest adventure, Waterdeep Dragon Heist. And then also over on DD Night on DDO stream, last night we did part 2 of the Kobold's Blockade. This is the adventure that Patrick has created. This was so much fun last night. Oh my gosh. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'll just say I had the most perfect time for the most perfect natural 20 ever. It was amazing. That's all I'm going to say.
A perfect time for a nat 20.
Perfect time for a nat 20. Because I may or may not have did something stupid, and the nat 20 was the perfect time to roll that, and it saved my hide. That's all I'm going to say.
Well,
you have to watch the video. It's amazing. The reaction of all the players was just, oh my God. That was the most fun I've had playing D&D in a long time, because I haven't rolled perfectly like that for a long time. And it just happened at the right time. The whole mood of the adventure changed. Everything was different after that nat 20. So watch that video. It was amazing. So elsewhere, video game wise, still playing Bard's Tale 4. Still complaining, way too many puzzles. But review coming soon. Played a little.
Coming soon.
Yeah, played a little more of Achtung. I love saying that word, Achtung. Cthulhu Tactics. Strange little game.
Tactics.
Yes, Cthulhu Tactics. Try to wrap your head around that, but yeah. So look for a review of that coming soon as well. And then I finally broke down. I've had these games forever. I needed to review them. I kept putting it off because just
the title.
No, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I can't figure out how I'm going to review them and do an honest and fair review because, oh my God, they're just so cringy.
With the name like that.
I played some Super Seducer and Super Seducer 2. There's going to be some video going up on my YouTube channel of these. They're cringy. If you're not familiar with what Super Seducer and Super Seducer do, that's really easy for me to say. Super Seducer and Super Seducer 2, they are teach you how to pick up women. We'll just put it that way. That's the polite way of saying it. They're oh my God, they're so cringy. I will give them credit. Super Seducer 2 is a little better because at least now they have like a woman that is there, so you get the women's point of view, and there's actually some levels where you can play guys. So but oh my God, they're cringy. I have been putting this off, and finally the PR company for the game producer was like, can we get those reviews soon? And I'm like, yeah.
You
okay.
really want to hear them?
I don't mind this. Well, let me tread lightly when I say that. I mean, okay, I don't mind the subject matter. I mean, I don't, it's sexual and yada. I mean, I don't mind that at all. I don't have a problem with that. It's just, oh my God, these games are so cringy. But they're so funny, though. They're hilarious. They're cringy in like a hilarious way. And the best part about it is the game is seriously trying to come off as a serious game so you can learn how to pick women up and how to talk to women and how to approach women. But it's so hilarious and so cringy and so wrong at the same time. So look for some videos coming soon to my YouTube in all of the cringiness that it is. But yeah, that's Super Seducer and Super Seducer 2. And I found out today There's going to be a Super Seducer 3.
Okay.
And then Bonnie B was saying she's pro Super Seducer if you don't take it too seriously. And
If you don't take it too seriously.
That's the key. Don't take it serious. Like, they want you to take them seriously, but don't take them seriously. Take them for what they are. They're just like a cringe laugh fest because they're so bad, but they're so hilarious. But don't take them seriously. But you'll see when you watch my videos. I'm going to have videos of it. And it's, oh my God, they're just cringy. But that was my week in gaming. So how about you, Pine Leaf? Tell us about our epic fail in DDO this week.
Yes, we headed into the harbor where we were going to run the waterworks. We got inside the waterworks, started up the quest on this, found one of the rares. I believe you only found one rare in there.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So we found one rare in there, went in, took the Clan Nash Tooth first quest in there, headed into there and started the dungeon up, and things weren't going too well with the server.
Right. It was not our fault. The server broke.
Yeah, and it started out a little hitchy here and there, then it worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, it was like really weird because everything started out okay, and then it was like, okay, I'm getting a little bit of lag, which,
yeah,
every once in a while you get some lag, so it's like, okay, it's cool, the server will catch up. So we go, after the rare, we go down to the next part of the dungeon, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can't move. And Pine Leaf was running in front of me, but he was running in place. So I'm like, okay, that's the server, that's not just lag. And then that lasted for about 10 seconds maybe, and then it was fine. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then we got into a fight. And then that's when everything broke. It was just like, it totally locked up, nothing happened, lost connection to the game, couldn't get back in the game. They never did say what happened, but it apparently, my guess is it was something to do with the data center because it was affecting Lotro as well.
And the forums.
And the forum, yeah, because I went on the forums at first to see if they had posted anything or anybody else was talking about it, and I couldn't access the forum, so I'm like, that's not good. And then Pine Leaf tried Lotro, and he couldn't get a Lotro, and I'm like, that's really not good. And then about that time is when they posted on Twitter, it's like, we're working to resolve the issues, we're sorry. So I'm like, okay, not just us, the worlds are broken.
The worlds are broken.
So hopefully next week we can actually do Waterworks.
Yes. And that way the kobolds will remember the Waterworks.
They apparently did, and they got their revenge last week, apparently.
Yeah. Let's keep them out. Then I played a lot of Lotro. I'm not going to go through all that detail, but that's...
What? You played a lot of Lotro? Who are you, and what have you done? I mean, really? No. Nobody's shocked by it. Well, maybe on this show, because you don't talk about Lotro that well. You kind of do, but...
Yeah. Well, I did that because we had trying to finish up the stuff in the latest area to be released, the stuff up in the Gray Mountains. So I was getting into the Gray Mountains and doing a great deal of questing there and seeing how far I could get into that. And managed to get through 2 instances in there that they have in there. They decided that for those, that during the quest time, they had 2 of those instances unlocked, and you then start going into those. And they fortunately had solo versions and larger group versions of them that you could do to that. So I can repeat those quests if I ever need to. So I was doing those in there, so I did a lot of that. And also, they opened up 2 new servers in Lotro. The legendary servers, which have a few things back from older days, plus they have a cap of level 50 instead of 120 on there. And
which
I know
this is not Lotro Players News, but That whole thing with the legendary servers is just weird to me because it's almost like a vanilla server, but not quite a vanilla server. So I'm not quite sure the angle they're going for, but they're very popular from what I've seen.
Well, we have to see. You won't know really how popular such a server is until, let's say, a month in, how busy they are.
Right.
Because on the first day, where you have the novelty of the new server and all this stuff, and they opened up one of these servers at noon, which means it's just about when the people in the UK and in Europe are just about home and all this stuff. And they were hit by queues so large that it broke the queue server.
Nice.
Now you gotta know that the Lotro queue servers have not really been tested over the years because I don't think there's ever been an incident where we had significant queues because of a lot of people trying to get in at once. So I don't think they've ever had a real test of these on the live servers in the past. So when you had all these people all rushing into a single server, all logging at the same time, it broke the queuing system. Hopefully they'll figure out how to fix that at some point for the next time, maybe in another 5 years when they need an ultra large queue system. The other thing that they decided to do to help alleviate that is that 6 hours after opening up the first legendary server, they decided, let's open up a second one to offload this a little bit. And things were a little tricky for the first half hour or so, but things settled down and people were able to log in after that because you didn't have everybody trying to log into one server all at once. So that was quite interesting on there. But I did play some Minecraft also, where in my multiplayer world, I started to work on an underground area where I'm trying to build salt marsh. And one of the things about salt marsh is trying to fit what's going on in there into the above area, and also to fit into Minecraft also, because up there I've got this fishing village. All right, fine. But what else goes on in this village? What are their other trades in life? Because I have this spider spawner in there, I decided that maybe they have a sideline in silk. But the silk people are all underground, so I'm starting to build an underground area where the silk farmers live, and that they do a lot of trading in there. And I figure that a lot of stuff to do with trade goes through there. I'm starting to come up with some ideas on that matter, and that way I'll have more space for the fishing village upstairs, because in Minecraft I have this peninsula here, and I don't think it's going to quite fit as large a thing as you'd want in the overworld. So I had to split. Some of it is going to be underground, and as a result of that, so I started on that, and I sectioned off a large area where I decided I'm going to get a full map of my base. So I went around, created 25 small maps, cut all those and plastered them onto this wall. So now I have this really huge wall that shows me everything that I've got at my base. So now, if I want to know where to put something, I can have a nice layout for it. 25 maps. And of course, I had to get everything all mapped out. So that's what I did in there. In my railroad challenge, I built my rail line to my second stop, and while I was there, I found a zombie spawner. Sometimes when I come to these things, I'm wondering, what is this train stop serving? Because the train stops have to be at certain intervals. I therefore have to say, why are people coming here? Because we're in the middle of a desert here, right? Okay, it so happens to be very close to a well. So I was thinking perhaps the trains are stopping for this well to get water and stuff like that. Not exactly what I call a high priority train stop, but okay, maybe. But now I got a zombie spawner here. I'm thinking, ooh, that's now a commodity that can be produced. And a commodity that's being produced means that people may be going to that stop for that reason. And you may wonder, why in the world are zombies a commodity in Minecraft?
I was about to ask that question. Not to sound Minecraftish noobish, but Why are zombies a commodity in Minecraft, Piley?
They're a commodity because they drop something called zombie flesh. I know that's not exactly impressive, but they also drop other items such as weapons and armor and occasionally metal and stuff like that. So those are some things that you can get from there. But the zombie flesh can be traded with clerics. And clerics, you can get emeralds from them for that, and you use the emeralds in order to trade for other stuff. So a good supply of zombie flesh is actually something that you could have if you've got any clerics inside of a village that you're trading with. And remember, the first stop was at a village. So now we have a village at the first one, a zombie farm at the second one, which is something I could use in order to trade with them. It makes me wondering, what am I going to find at the third stop when I get around to doing that? Maybe in a couple of months I'll find out. We currently have 21 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support DDO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There will find rewards, including a mention on the podcast of your choice, or even be guest with us for an episode of DDO News. And maybe before the 300th episode, Draculetta will be able to unveil a new set of rewards.
Sure. They're coming. I promise. I swear there's going to be new rewards.
Before the 300th episode?
Maybe. That's my goal. There you go. I have a goal. My goal. Yeah, I'm Freudian slip there. I have a goal. I have 100 episodes to get those up. Okay.
Yeah. I hope it's well before then.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
If you would like to email us, you can email us at podcast@ddoplayers.com, ddoplayers.com. You can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance @Players Ally, DDO Players @DDO Players, Draculetta @Draculetta_72, and Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles. And you can follow Drac on Twitch @Draculetta_72. The Players Alliance has 2 live shows every Monday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. We have DDO Players News, and every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Lojo Players News. You can join us for our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And that's it for our 200th episode. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to quest responsibly.